Thank you. So I would like to request our sponsor panelists who just joined if they can quickly introduce themselves and their companies. You would like to start, Kevin?
Yeah. Everybody hear me? Yeah, good. Kevin Clark, work for Accruent. Accruent is asset and workplace management. My role is Vice President for Global Product and Industry Marketing.
Hello everyone, Petteri Ivanek is the name, working for a company called Cognite. We are rather obsessive on simplifying access to complex industrial data and allowing customers to actually do something meaningful with it, in a nutshell.
I'm Matthew Foss, Senior Client Partner with Kyndryl. We design, build, manage, and modernize the critical infrastructure that powers human progress.
Hey everybody, Matt Kirshner. I'm Chief Product Officer for Atonix Digital.
Any question from the audience for either the panelist members or any on the presentation that you just saw? Since audience is coming up with questions, there's one question I would like to ask. So today from the end user presenters, we heard success stories, right? But a lot of the times when we're talking to end users, they're sharing their frustrations as well. So I'm asking both end user presenters as well as suppliers. From end users, I would like to hear that at any point in your transformation journey, were there frustrations and how did you overcome that? And from suppliers, I would like to ask, what is the most common challenge that you hear from your end users when they're telling you about their digital transformation journey?
Go for it.
I think the biggest challenge we had, I talked about change management, and we cover 7 different facilities across the state of Florida. So we have 5 operating facilities down in Miami. So cultures are different, okay? And getting folks to really understand the value proposition is different within those cultures. And I think that's been the biggest challenge that I've had. But I think that the way to overcome that was have them come and see, come up and see it firsthand, what we're doing, why we do what we do, why it's important, and have them understand how it's going to be able to help them too. So I think, again, show and tell, you go back to your grade school days, show and tell is definitely never an understatement.
So I'll take a little different perspective. So I have 2 sons, both X and Y generations. If you guys understand the generational gaps between the baby boomers and the X and the Ys and the Zs. So we see it a lot with that wide range of perspectives and the expectations in industries. And so we're seeing a lot more of that where the expectation is higher, the technology is where it ought to be. Because how many of us remember the days where all the great technology was at work and we didn't have great technology at home, and now all of a sudden we have great technology at home and not so great technology at work. And so we're starting to see our clients move more towards appeasing the wider range of Y and Z generations, because that's where we're moving to.
Yeah, I'd very, very happy to jump on that bandwagon. I think it's user experience, simplifying the complex. The stuff we're handing out to our users in the field is horrendous, to be honest, mostly. If we expect people to jump at it and embrace it from the get-go, learn how to get value from it and use it and adopt it in a matter of hours, like we do in our consumer lives, we're somewhat missing the mark still today. And that does apply throughout the stack as well, so there's no excuse for the middlewares of the stack and the data management layers of the stack to be any more clunky than the front ends need to be or should be. So that is what we hear from our customers as well. It's too complex, it's too darn difficult to use. We need to get to a more enjoyable experience. I do mean for everyone, for the data engineers, for the model developers, for the front-end developers, for the users, more self-servicing. So again, it's not really rocket science if we look at the consumer side of the fence. There's a lot of excuses given that because we're in the industrial software space, it is acceptable that it's clunkier. I don't think that is true. We need to be doing better. We deserve our, field workers to get better service. So that's what we need to get to. Make it simple, awesomely simple.
I'm gonna jump in on that rather than going in line, because I totally agree with the simplifying, because one of the challenges I think we see is even the challenge of taking the first step. It can feel overwhelming and complex. You have so much data, you don't know where to start. So not just simplifying the end user experience, but even the management of the data, the deployment of analytics, it doesn't have to be complex.
Creed, we're all creatures of habit, right? And so I think most of us have the experience of, we've had some experience of the past or some frustration or something that hasn't worked, and we've developed an impression, right? And what we're trying to do differently to drive digital transformation is to question the narrative, right? To ask why, right? Why are we doing it this way? What can we do differently? And I think the leaders in this space have really found some value out of approaching change with, say, an engineering principle of you actively listen, and then you develop a hypothesis, you gather the data, and then you prove or disprove your hypothesis, and you drive change. And so, but I think a lot of the frustration that's come from the years is all based on our past, right? But that's okay, as long as we know that to move to the future, you have to be willing to embrace change.
Can I? So from a user perspective, I think we heard everything from the supplier perspective. I'll give a user perspective. The challenge that I saw, at least, was it's really comes back to the cultural aspect of it, where I think we were used to working in silos. I think we heard that theme a few times. We were used to working in silos, and when you're working in silos, from a supplier perspective, you're thinking about what ticket do I address next, and from a user perspective, you're thinking what task do I complete next. And I think it's that shift in mindset to say, think outside the box. How can we move faster? It's really about that change, and that's why in your slide that when I saw agile agile organization, not agile delivery, but agile organization. That's about thinking the mindset of the people. I think, and to address that, I think it was very helpful that when the values align and the leaders are agreeing on the same vision, it becomes easier to break those silos.
I think that was probably one of my biggest frustrations as well, was to get alignment between leadership and the plant owners, or the plant managers, as to what it is we should be doing. Because there's so much out there it's possible to do, and they've heard all sorts of stories about digitalization not delivering an ROI. Yeah. So you've got to overcome the reluctance to throw money at this. Yeah. And even considering that you've got to overcome that technical debt before you actually start delivering any ROI, you've got to really put some money behind it before you start delivering real value, unless you are in the fortunate position that you have data available that you can start working with immediately. So that's a major challenge, I find.
You see me over there. So I used to do this as a consultant for about 6 years before. So I've set these digital transformation programs up for hundreds of different units in different places across the country, and a lot of different perspectives. And really it kind of boils down to transferring trust from the old way they used to do it. Bob, the maintenance guy, I'll pick on him. He walks down the equipment, puts his hands on it every single day. He trusts his method of doing that. Transferring that trust over to the new way that we're going to do this. And quite honestly, being persistent with it. And when you save their bacon 2 or 3 times, or tell them a new avenue or something that we're going into that, they start to transfer that trust over to them. But you also need shared ownership with this, from the vision from the people, now being an end user of the system myself too. So we have this initiative from all of our senior VPs. This is the way we're going to do business now, and here's how we're going to go after this. How do we support this to support the sites? It's an ownership thing from each of the people at the sites. I know some folks I've seen here, took great ownership in this program to make it successful and drive that. And it's ownership and transferring trust.
Thank you. Anybody in the audience would like to ask a question? Or share if they are going through their transformation and facing some difficulty and challenges? Otherwise, I have another question. Another thing,
Folks, this
oh,
is the
there is a
largest panel
question.
we have had, so ask some questions.
Hi, I'm Tom from Williams Companies, and we're currently in kind of the beginning of the throes of this giant transformation. And I was wondering if you could give me any of your tactics that you've used to keep your executives engaged and actually believing that there is the return at the end of this rainbow, because that sometimes is many years in the future, possibly beyond the scope of their career. So it's sort of difficult to communicate to these people that they need to stay this course. How have you found success in that?
Actually, the approach we took was to get a seed funding. And we agreed with management that they've been jaded by big promises before and seen sort of these projects fail and not deliver an ROI. So based on that initial skepticism, we got agreement to say, okay, you've got 12 months, here's some seed money. Within 12 months, you show an initial successes, and based on that, we'll give you some more money. Mm-hmm. So, we tried looking at a top-down and a bottom-up way of calculating an ROI, but at the end of the day, there's a whole pile of assumptions in there, and to some extent, I agree that you've got to make it that leap of faith with the management that it will deliver value. But we were given a 12 months and a short leash to prove that to some extent and justify further investment. So that's the way we took it.
Go ahead, Brian. So I've done this several times, and big thing that we did, and then said, hey, 6 months, we're going to try this for a pilot program at one of the sites. Try this out. Here's the cost. And we batted 1,000 on like 6 pilots, to be clear. So when we started looking at the data, we had a very small initial investment into that, go into a site that you had a good data stream already built. So some of them, we had that already. If you have that, go after that information. And if you can bring to the top that needle in the haystack approach, we found that 5+1 ROI every single time, usually within a month of a 6-month pilot, which led to, how do we scale this further? And then all of a sudden it was, how do we scale this as fast as we can? And then stretching our partners and stuff as we did that. But we did it through pilot trials.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, I'm going to use kind of a funny one here, but kind of a Jerry Maguire moment. You got to show them the money. So the thing that we did, I think, that really enlightened the executive side of the business was that I used the example about robots. We had 48 operating robots now, 6 years into the program. They had 2 Motoman robots that were sitting in a warehouse when I came. And I started asking a bunch of questions on why are they sitting in a warehouse. And they said, well, we tried them and they don't work. Robots are bad. Okay. And so again, one of the ways I went at this was I was asked for forgiveness later. I went out and I got a very simple setup of robots, plugged it in, and it just ran. Safety got better, quality got better, productivity got better. So it, again, show them the money and, take them out, let them see them operating, let them get the feedback from the operators that are interacting with them. From that point on, pretty much anything that I brought to the executive team, they were like, I don't even need to ask. Keep going, keep spending. So once you build that trust, then they'll continue to invest.
Yeah, So absolutely, the POCs. Can you hear me? The POCs I think are great. The other thing I would recommend that you try and do is show them some quick wins. The low-hanging fruit, if you would call them, right? And that usually goes a long way because they can see some of those tangible benefits. They can see those materialize. And the last thing I would suggest is, as you have to continue showing these benefits, right? But you also have to be fully transparent so they know exactly where their dollars are going. If you are fully transparent, that goes a long way in earning the trust from them.
Real quick before he jumps in, I got a story. So since Bruce started telling stories, I'm going to tell a story. In 2002, and I realize some of you may not have even been working in the professional world yet, but in 2002, I deployed the first mobile maintenance system at Johnson & Johnson. I spent 25 years in manufacturing, both Caterpillar and Johnson & Johnson. And we deployed mobile solution. But before I deployed that mobile solution, our vice president came down to the maintenance shop and he told me, hey, I approved your toys. And it was for the mobile devices. And of course, he was having a little bit of fun with us, but he was half serious, right? Back in 2002, mobile was a toy. And so we deployed those, and it went really, really well. But we had a guy in the group called Sam, and Sam was 65 years old. Sam was ready to retire. And what we found was in 2002, the more senior folks gravitated towards the mobile solution, and the younger folks gravitated towards the computers. They were familiar with the computers, so they did their work orders on the computers. But Sam, being 65, he never used a computer. And so he gravitated towards that mobile solution. So what we did is we brought that vice president down and we let Sam show him how the mobile worked. And so what we found was engaging our senior leaders with the folks that are actually using the practitioners, the ones that are actually changing in the way they do things. That meant just a tremendous amount to the whole senior leadership team because he took that back up and he told all of his peers at the senior level. And that transformation just continued to happen plant by plant by plant.
A lot has been said. I'd say seeing is believing. So make sure you show the value quickly. And there's also this little dirty secret in these digital transformation programs, if you look at it from a larger scale. I call it personally the cocktail model. So make sure you have a good cocktail of use cases and things you show. Some shiny toys are really nice, not necessarily because they're of tremendous value, but they have a high sex appeal. Then you need certain things that are actually truly impactful, that can truly be scaled. They tend to look a lot cheaper and simpler, because they are, but those are actually the ones that most likely end up delivering the actual ROI and get the most adoption. But if you only go with those Power BI dashboards, not many people will be wowed and impressed. You're not going to get that halo going. So, go for a cocktail, some shiny toys, something in the medium range, and then the simple things that people will actually love and use persistently. So it's the cocktail model. And again, be conscious the shiny toys are shiny toys oftentimes. Sometimes really useful, but there's a utility also in using a shiny toy just to get an executive to open up his or her wallet.
So we have 2 minutes. One last piece of advice that you would like to give to everyone on their digital transformation journey in 1 or 2 lines.
Engage your plant managers. Ask him what is his biggest problem and take those ones first.
I'll answer around the same direction. It's around engagement. Again, I made the comment about change management. The technical stuff is easy, okay? You can go read the books, you can go, buy the technology, but if you don't get folks bought in to own it and live with it, it'll fail. So learn that right up front.
Engage your champions.
I think mine will be, if it feels hard, you're doing it wrong.
I don't know if I can top that one. When it comes to this technology, the technology itself isn't the answer, and I think that's one of the first things we got to know is the technology is not the answer until we identify what the problem is, and often we try to fix problems by throwing technology at it. So identifying what that problem is before you go after technology is the way to approach it.
I would just close with engage and motivate the team. I mean, you've got to set a vision as leaders, but the team that is closest to the actual work at hand, if they feel a part of the solutions, then whatever technology and whatever process you're bringing, they will help guide it to be the most effective, and then they'll become champions in their organizations as well.
Yeah, empower people to do their jobs. I don't know how many times I've walked into a plant or places and we're asking people to do stuff we don't give them the ability to do, whether that's training or a tool or something. So, when I think about that perspective, it's the same thing that a lot of these guys are echoing here, is empower people to do their job and pull out the low-hanging fruit that these people have been sitting on for sometimes years or decades. It says, man, if we could just fix that, we could be so much better. And if you enable them to fix that, they owned it, they get the success for it, they get the statue built in front of the plant for them. That kind of attitude is a long ways. It's empowerment.
I'll piggyback from the slide by my Motiva colleague here. It can be fun as well.
Yeah.
Like try some fun in it, right? You need to get the teams engaged. You need to get them going. You need to get them, to take ownership. Fun is actually a really good vehicle.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate your time. Let's give a huge round of applause to our speakers and panelists.